Most important, how are you feeling after taking the majority of the reps today?
Honestly, so much better than I would have thought. Everybody would have thought. It's been such just an amazing blessing, and God's been so good for how this has all transpired and worked out that, the initial thought was, given the injury, I wasn't even going to be able to kind of be walking right now, let alone like running and being able to play. So, we'll see how kind of that progresses and being able to, get to a full practice or, have that confidence and be cleared and things. But, just be able to do anything right now. I was on crutches like 5 days ago, and so where I'm at right now has just been an absolute blessing. I was unrealistically optimistic that I'd be able to even, be moving around a little bit come the weekend and come like this coming weekend. And so I was able to move around this weekend at the game, and so it was cool.
What do you need to see? Protecting yourself, being able to move laterally, move up the pocket? What will be an indication that you're like, okay, I'm 100% ready to go?
I think it's, gaining confidence in the movement, understanding that, if you're protecting yourself subconsciously in the way you move, you're not only risking re-injuring that part of your body, but injuring another part of your body. And everybody's fully aware of the risks of, that comes with calf injuries and what those can lead to. So, there's obviously caution in that, and you got to make sure that, I can move and react to a chaotic environment without subconsciously trying to protect myself or protect a muscle and, running a different way or exploding a different way that can risk further injury.
What was your initial reaction to the changes to the game yesterday?
Amazing. I think it's so great and refreshing that, regardless of what the rule changes were, that, because I don't even care what we change the rules to, just the idea that the new commissioner, the board of governors, and people running the league are willing to, go out on a pedestal and make drastic changes to the game for the goal of growing the game financially, for interest-wise, just to be willing to change rules within the game to do whatever they think, is going to better the game. Because at the end of the day, as a player, I'm just an employee. Like I'm no different than anybody else that receives a T4 for a major company, major organization. My opinion of how the organization should be run doesn't matter. I don't have, some right to tell, a bunch of people who invested millions and millions of dollars and owners of this league how they should run the league and what they should do. Like that notion to me doesn't make any sense, because nobody else that works a job for a major corporation as an employee would ever think that they could go tell the CEO what they should or shouldn't do with the company.
But is there something to be said for just the cultural differences of it?
Not at all. It's a business. At the end of the day, what we're doing, we're athletes, but the people that run this, the league and people who run the organizations, they're doing this as a business. It's an entertainment business. These are sports, and we're sports teams, and we're athletes, and we're competing. But at the end of the day, the people, we're getting paid because it's a business, and people are putting a lot of money and investing their finances into growing the league, and they want to return on their investment the best they can. And so it's up to them as the owners and as the people that are invested financially in our league to grow that as whatever they see fit, whatever they think through research or through opinion that they think is going to grow the league, that's on them. And for us, it's our job to go try to win whatever football game they want us to play, however many downs it takes, whatever the football field looks like, as long as there's a football and the goal is to score points, our job is to go, take that and go try to do whatever we can with that, find the advantages we can with the rules and the field that we're given, and go have fun and go try to entertain people and play and compete and do the things we love to do. When it comes to cultural and Canadian uniqueness and things like that, I've been coaching and training players and kids, from 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds and college players, for years now. My kids were born in this country. I think the most unique thing about Canadian football is that we have football being played in Canada. I think that's what makes it Canadian. I think that's because if you look at, nobody's going to say the people in Quebec are less Canadian or playing a lesser brand of football in CEGEP just because they're playing 4-down football with no yard neutral zone. So, all those people from Quebec and CEGEP, that's still Canadian football. It doesn't matter how many downs they're playing. If you're a kid growing up in Ontario, you're playing 4-down football until you get to U16. You're U12, U14. So the rules that these kids are growing up playing in the grassroots of football, in different provinces, how things change, doesn't matter. It doesn't make those kids or those people from different provinces less Canadian or playing a lesser brand of football just because their rules don't match what the CFL does. What makes us special and unique is that we're playing football in Canada for Canadian organizations, Canadian institutions. We're owned by Canadians, and what we're doing is, prideful for Canada and for the communities that they're in. If you look back in 2019 when the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship, I was in Calgary when that happened, and the entire city erupted. You would have thought they were the Calgary Raptors. Everybody was in the streets parading and celebrating. There wasn't a single Canadian player in that entire roster. Nobody cared that it was an American league with American players. It was a Canadian team that won, and the entire country took great pride in that, rightfully so. And so, in my opinion, with my stakes that I do have in Canada with my kids and stuff that are citizens of this country, I take pride in training players and in seeing these great athletes play who are Canadian, who are in Canada playing the game, whatever game that is, and you can't tell me that they're lesser than or it's a different brand of football. Football North over there in Clarkson, Mississauga, literally plays American football, travels to the U.S. to play U.S. high schools. Those are some of the best high school football players I've ever been around, and they're Canadians, and they're playing American football, and nobody's going to tell me they're lesser than the guys at Etobicoke Collegiate or any of the other high schools that play Canadian football just because they're playing a different brand of football. They are representing Canada, and everybody else that is in their organization and in this country takes pride when they can go and beat American teams in an American game. It doesn't matter. If they're Canadians and we're playing here in Canada, that's special. However that looks. If you have a football in your hands and you're in Canada, I'm going to take great pride in seeing that be successful.
That sounds like a direct response to some things that Nathan was saying yesterday. Did you see his comments at all?
Yeah, I saw his comments, and everybody is free to have whatever comments and opinions they feel. I'm not saying whatever I'm saying, due to media pressure or anything like that. I had these feelings as soon as I saw this, because everybody has wish lists when they're involved in an organization of I think this would be cool, I think this would make it better, I think this would be cool. But at the end of the day, it's just the idea of being open to change. I think when you're in industry, when you're in business, you have to be on the forefront of change in order to keep that business growing and thriving, because generations change. The way we take in entertainment and enjoy that and invest in that as people, as fans, changes over the years. So if you're not willing to be on the forefront of change and adapt with the new world and the new environment and the new technology and new generations of people and their interests, then it's hard for a business to survive over time, regardless of what that business is in. When you look at the entertainment business, stores like Blockbuster that were unwilling to adapt to the streaming model are now non-existent. So as long as you're willing to continue to do whatever you think is necessary as a business to grow and adapt to the new world, that's a really good sign, I think, for the CFL moving forward, and still being here is something I can enjoy when I'm much older.
Specifically about moving the goalposts back at the back of the end zone, have you, as a quarterback, have there been a time, a moment when you're playing, you felt like the goalpost was standing in your way, you couldn't complete your play?
I literally hit the goalpost in Edmonton a few weeks ago, throwing to Dave, who was open in the end zone. It happened earlier in my career in 2019 in Winnipeg. I hit the upright, throwing to Richardson Danny in the back of the end zone. There was nobody within 10 yards of him. And then you see, it's not just an offensive thing. Vernon Adams threw what would have been an easy interception right to the safety last week, when they were playing BC, but the ball skips off the goalpost, and now, the offense is saved and the defense is taken away from a ball that was going right to a safety. So it works both ways. And the last thing you'd ever want to do from an entertainment perspective, if you're a fan and you're invested in watching a Grey Cup and you're watching the two best teams play, and the game comes down to a final play and the ball hits a goalpost, which we saw happen in Sask and Winnipeg in a playoff situation. That's not ideally, as a fan, how you want to see a game decided and ended. And I understand that perspective, regardless of whether it's my way or not. That's besides the point. And wherever they want to put the goalposts or have goalposts, it doesn't matter. Like we'll adapt and the game will change. And there's been so many rule changes over the years, both in American football, like in the NFL and the CFL as well, with hash marks. People forget that the hashes were 4.5 yards wider, 5 years ago. It's not even a thought of like, back when I first started in the league, that field go was a lot further than it is now. Like, I've never even really thought about that. You just change, and a few years later, people forget that it ever used to be a different way.
Bigger question: why the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet around your neck?
During COVID, it was my first Father's Day gift from my wife, but it was from my 1-year-old. We had our first daughter during COVID in May of 2020.
I remember.
Yeah, and so, lockdown, we were stuck in our homes with a newborn. At that point, I had seen, not even half of the Marvel movies. My wife had seen like one. I think there was 30 at the time. And so, we decided we got to binge and get into something. We have a newborn that's doing nothing but napping, and we get trapped on the couch for 2 or 3 hours and we can't move. So we decided, let's try Marvel. And it became something, we watched like a half of a movie every day, and we're not doing anything, not even allowed to leave the house for like 6 months. And we watched all 30 movies together, me and my wife with our newborn, and it just became kind of like this symbol of like our
parental dominance.
Yeah, of like that first year of parenthood.
Yeah.
Like, it became like, it was just a shared thing that we both loved and both could just, enjoy together.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, my wife got me this for Father's Day to commemorate kind of that being the big part of our first year as parents.
That's
Can I ask one question about the next game?
one more. You have played at a high level of both versions of the sport. But as a Canadian, what did you think of when you saw the changes?
I thought, I'm always an advocate for change. I feel like change is growth, and as an entertainment business, I feel like that's what we need, and the management has a responsibility to grow the game. And if that's what they feel like is the right answer to make this a better product on TV, on the field, then all I could do is play ball, right? So I think I'm all for it. I think it's a good thing that they're willing to make those drastic changes, and it says a lot about management, and I'm sure they did their due diligence and their research and everything. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Would you have wanted any kind of consultation, heads up, any vote in any of the changes as a Canadian, especially as a Canadian player?
I mean, the reality is we didn't, and that's cool. Again, all I can do is trust that they've done their research, they thought about it, they've ran through every single scenario, and all I can do is trust that. Could we have talked about it? Maybe, but we weren't, and that's just the reality of it. So yeah, it's just a trust thing at this point.
Did the PA reach out to you guys at all about any, if any players had anything that they may have wanted to share?
No, there was none of that. We just kind of heard about it just like everybody else.
Can you understand, and I guess I'm tapping into your Canadian passport a little bit here, that as much as it is a business, there is an aspect of some of these teams, especially in particular, the Argos. I mean, every team in this league can also be seen as a public trust,
right,
because of how old the league is.
Right.
Can you understand people's initial reactions? Maybe not to a couple years ago, as Nick was referencing the changing of the hash marks, but to the 55-yard line,
right,
and the length of the field being reduced.
Yeah.
Can you understand, because those are so optically
right.
the Canadian Football League?
Yeah, definitely, and I think the game and the field, the Canadian field, definitely has a unique look to it. This does change that a little bit, so I can understand how there might be some people upset about it. There's never going to be 100% unanimous agreement to such drastic changes, and so feathers are going to be ruffled, And I understand that. So I've been reading all the comments, and I've been seeing the people who are pretty pissed off about it. And I understand, but again, change is good. And if this does grow the game, all the fans are just going to be that much more appreciative of it.
What did you think of Nathan's comments?
I know Nathan. He's a great player, obviously, a very passionate guy, and what he said was his opinion, and we gotta respect it. I got nothing really to say about that. That's his thoughts. I can't really fault him for that.
How about, have you talked to any other Canadian players that you've played with or gone through, playing the game like this and getting their thoughts?
Yeah, I see guys on social media joking about the goalposts and how they ran into it a couple times, and so some of them are appreciative of the change, and others are a little mad, but we the guys in the locker room here are just kind of going with it. We just got to focus on playing the next game and making this push for the playoffs.
Has it ever run into your space, the goalpost, or have you ever run into it?
I've seen guys run into it for sure, and I coming here from the States, it was definitely something that was new to me, but I'm used to it now, and it going back is just going to be another adjustment that we have to make.
It's going to make for a pretty exciting game. I think it's going to open up the passing game a lot more, which I like. A lot of opportunities to kind of make some plays. I think it's going to be interesting, though. It's going to be a new look for the league, a new look for the game up here, and, I'm with it.
What do you say to some Canadian fans, especially because the fan base across this country is very passionate about how this game looks, when they see the 55-yard line be removed, when they see the goalpost be moved to the back of the end zone, when the end zones are getting shorter, when they see not the teams moving to either sidelines. I think everyone widely accepts that that's a good thing. But those things that make the Canadian Football League the Canadian Football League, what do you say to those fans who think it looks more American now?
I say to them, I would just say change is necessary a lot of times, and change is needed for growth. It's going to take some getting used to, yes. But, you'll be fine. It's just like, getting a new phone, Apple updates the iOS all the times, and, you hate the new update. And then a few weeks later, you're used to the update and you don't remember the old update. So, I kind of think it'll be one of those things that, once people start seeing the games being played and then, still just having that excitement behind it, they'll forget all about it.
Did you see Nathan Rourke's comments yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think of them?
I think he's entitled to his opinion, but, I don't want to say too much on his comments, but, that's just, what he feels.
Sure.
As somebody who plays, defense, and I know the goalpost isn't always something you guys worry about too much, but do you feel like that's something that's going to really benefit just overall play for you guys? I know safety-wise, now you don't really have to worry about hitting that thing when you guys are coming across, but do you feel like that was something that was kind of a no-brainer change for the league?
Yeah, I think that's probably something that they've probably been talking about for a while now when it comes to changes, but that'll be different. I don't think that'll be much getting used to. It might take away some of the returns, I guess, on the field goals and things like that make some of the excitement and things like that make for big plays. But like I said, man, I think everybody will forget about it soon.
Did you? I know that one of the things Nathan said was he wished that the coaches and players were consulted a bit more by the board about these changes. As a player, do you feel like maybe it would have been nice if the players got a little more of a heads up or even just a consultation on these sort of changes?
Yeah, definitely. Just not even, doesn't even have to necessarily be, I guess, asking us our opinion or asking us, how we feel about the changes, but just letting us know that changes are coming and some of the things that are being talked about, just so everybody can have an open mind and be prepared for, whatever may come.
Is there one rule change or change to the game that excites you, and is there one that you're interested to see what kind of effect it will have?
Show the field. Man, some of these interceptions I had to run a long way. So I think maybe that'll make for, faster touchdowns. I'm just kind of thinking about making plays, man. So anyway, I think these things can help me make plays. I feel like it's a good deal.
And I imagine, too, getting teams on opposite sidelines is going to be, I have been standing on this sideline for a long time, and I see the kind of, whether it's substitutions that make a guy have to run the full length of the field to get on quickly, or the interactions that can happen when guys accidentally on purpose decide to walk through the other side of an end zone. I mean, what does that do by just shifting the sidelines to the other side?
I think it just makes the game a lot cleaner. Takes a lot of the unnecessary, ton or fights or things like that could come from that. But like I said, it'd just be probably like a cleaner game, cleaner look. TV-wise, too, like you said, not seeing just people running from who knows where off the camera, and then all of a sudden they're on the camera, running on the field. So, I think a lot of these things, a lot of these changes are going to end up being something that we look back on and we think that they were all necessary.
I mean, I also saw Derek last week when he got hurt at the end of the game. He had to walk a good part to even get off the field. I'm sure as somebody who's dealt with injuries and has had to get his way off the field, that might also be a benefit to not have to put more pressure on the players or push the players more in those situations.
Yeah, and it helps with everything, play calling, signal calling, everywhere. Sometimes when you're on the opposite side of the field and you're getting the play calls from down across the other side, it kind of, I would like to think I have pretty good vision, but it gets kind of hard to see down on the other end sometimes. So it'd be good.
For the upcoming game, you guys had great defensive output last game. What can you take from that game going into this season that you think can help you win?
Man, just keep that energy that we came out with and we finished with. I think that entire game we played with like a chip on our shoulder. Everybody was hungry. Everybody knew what our job was, and I think just doing that consistently over and over for 4 quarters straight, we'll continue to see a winning output.
And this is also a team that is hungry, that wants to get all the wins as well. How much do you want to see your guys, where the passion that you bring to the field, make sure that you can, not intimidate them, but show them that you have a presence there?
Yeah, man. I think at this point now is a lot of times me trying to keep up with the guys. We got a lot of high energy guys on the team, a lot of playmakers, and a lot of players are going around. So I think at this point it's me trying to keep up with everybody else, and just trying to keep and not let it be a letdown. And we have no open pockets on the field.
What are maybe a couple aspects of this game that you fell in love with, knowing that you've made your career here and you've earned a living up here now for a long time? What are the rules that make this game unique that you've fallen in love with?
For me, the waggle is kind of weird because I'm a defensive player, but I've learned to study, the waggle and learn to study, how those players attack the line and, what they're doing from some of those things. And I think that's what really makes this game, unique and different just to the naked eye of watching the game. And, for me, that's one of the things that I've grown to enjoy and I look for. When I watch a NFL game or a college game, it looks kind of weird to me now not seeing, people moving, the players waggling and people moving, things like that. But for me, I think that's one of the better things in my opinion.
I did see some of your comments yesterday about the changes. But a lot of excitement from you, seeing the league take initiative to change things a bit.
Yeah, I think we always look at how we can make the game better for our fans, right? And speed up play. It's been a big discussion over the last few years. So, obviously scoring points have been a big thing. A few years ago we weren't scoring that many points. So I think anytime we look at finding ways to make it more exciting for our fans, we always got to look into that.
Were you aware that the changes were coming?
I didn't know exactly what changes were coming, so I was just told that we're going to have an announcement, and then I found out, what the rules were about an hour before the press conference.
So, Stuart Johnson doesn't need to come to the coaches and the GMs. He can just go to the board of governors. That would be the chain of command. Should he have come to coaches and players? I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to bait you, but a reaction to what Nathan Rourke said yesterday?
Yeah, so no comment there as far as him, only commenting on our players, right? I think our players are excited for the change. I think, the board of governors is kind of has that role, right? And they have the right to, look into those things. And it was well thought out, so I don't think they just wanted to make a change. So I think there's a plan for it. And it is there's changes in life, in any avenue, right? So I'm looking forward to these and see how they're going to play out.
What makes this league distinctly Canadian, distinctly different?
Well, I think, the 12 guys on the field, bigger field, right? The downhill motion, some of the rules. All my American friends, they love watching the CFL, right? They find it more exciting than the NFL. Even myself, I love college football, but sometimes I watch the NFL, I'm going, you know, this isn't as exciting as our league. I mean, our games always come down to the end, and I mean, look at our games this year. It's almost the last drive, you know, each week. So that's pretty exciting.
The 35-second play clock, how much do you think it's going to change for you when you need to call plays and make sure that you can do that in enough time? Is that enough time for you?
Yeah, plenty of time, right? Because now we got the 20 seconds, right? Obviously, they're going to blow it in a little bit earlier, I anticipate. I mean, I won't know until I get in it, but, you know, maybe we can have some more double cadence where we can let the defense show their hand and we can get to the right play, right? So that gives you 35 seconds to operate, especially if you go fast, right, and no huddle it. So I think there's going to be, you know, more aggressiveness on the offense with a 35-second play clock, and then being able to find the right play versus the right look.
What do you think you're going to miss when they move the opponents to the other side? You strike me like somebody who likes to engage your opponents when they are closer.
No, not really. I've been, you know, pushing for that for a few years, right? And it was obviously a financial thing, but I think it's better, right? So we didn't have anything that happened like 2 weeks ago. So I think that's gonna be good for the league.
What are your thoughts on Rouge? I mean, your team won a game on a Rouge, I think, if not last year, the year before that. What does taking that away and maybe making it a live play, does that change anything from a special teams perspective? And also, certainly moving the goalpost back. You know, you've had incredible dynamic returners. Does that change the way the game is played from that position?
Yeah, we'll see. I think moving the field goals back, right now we got to be pretty smart as, you know, attempting some of the longer ones, right? So maybe that might lead to some more points as well off missed field goals and returns. So, yeah, I mean, we won a game off the Rouge, we've lost a game off the Rouge. You know, I think it's been in the league for a long time, but I don't think it's going to be a big adjustment, you know, moving away from it. And I think, you know, you look at a lot of the fan base, you know, when we won our game, they weren't very excited that, you know, we locked up a home playoff game by that. So I get the concerns with both sides of it.
But moving the goalposts back also allows a little more room offensively for you guys as well. You know, as a quarterback, you probably have, as a coach, you've seen quite a few of those footballs hit the goalpost. Is that something you're excited about?
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, I think, you know, someone mentioned yesterday when I was, you know, I think they were talking about Lapo was talking about on TSN. But when we're backed up on our own 5, right, that goalpost is a problem. So a lot of times we just call plays in the boundary to try to get out of our end. Now we'll have you know, our whole arsenal as far as, you know, play calls available for us now.
You had that one play with Polk last week where he had to go along the, you know, to the end, the boundary, instead of maybe going to the middle. Is that something maybe where the goalposts being moved would change a play like that?
Yeah, for sure. The only thing I can think of, you know, what a lot of teams offensively try to do is use the goalpost as a pick, right? And so you're not gonna be able to have that opportunity anymore. But I think it's for player safety reasons. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of injuries, guys running the goalpost, but I think it could happen, right? So I think the players are excited; they don't have to worry about it as much.
I want to also ask about your team and going into this week. How's Nick feeling? Is there a possibility he plays this week?
Yeah, it's looking like it. So he took the majority of the reps today. You know, Jarrett still got about 40% of it, but I was shocked Nick was moving around as good as he was yesterday. He felt like he had a good shot, and obviously had to go out there and let him do it today, see it. We'll see how tomorrow's going to go. You know, if he's, you know, full strength like he was today, I anticipate him being our starting quarterback.
How does that conversation go between him and deciding between him and Degi? Do you have to tell them ahead of time? Do you decide after the practice tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll just tell him we'll make a decision. You know, I think Jarrett's like he's done all years. You always plan to play, right? You're one play away. So, you know, I think Nick's done some really good things for us, right? So if we can get him back on the field, he's going to make us a better football club.
You said every game is going to be important, and it makes sense for sure. But the game in BC right now, how much do you look forward to that, and how do you encourage your team to make sure that you come back with a win?
Yeah, no question. Let them know. You know, last year we went down there and won, and you know, it did kind of change our season. We got on a roll there. We weren't playing our best football. So that was kind of a statement win for our locker room last year. Now we can do the same thing this year, right? Like I told him, it's probably going to take all 4, but it's definitely going to take 3 out of 4, right? So obviously starts with this one. You look at the record. You know, Toronto's record in years past isn't very good in BC, but we proved last year that we can win there, and you know, that's our main focus right now.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.